Hello everyone, and in today's video, I'm gonna be teaching y'all how to play the fried liver opening in chess. This is a really great opening, and it works really well in beginner's play, and it could help you avoid getting a really boring, simplistic, symmetrical position. So let's get started. First, you play e4. Your opponent responds with e5. You play knight f3. Your opponent responds with knight c6. You play bishop to c4. And your opponent responds with knight f6. So over here, you usually would play knight c3. It's a very classical move and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you want to avoid getting into a symmetrical position that's boring and repetitive, you could play a spicy move called knight g5. So essentially, this threatens to capture the pawn. Because let's say they just play a random move like a6, for example, they're gonna instantly be losing. Because then you can take on f7, and you have a fork on the queen and the rook. So your opponent's probably not gonna be that dumb and play the move a6. So if your opponent is familiar with the fried liver, there's gonna be two variations that they're probably gonna play. So let's start off with the more common one. This one is d5, which is the top computer move. You respond with e takes d5, and then instead of them taking back with the knight, which isn't too great for them, as you could see by the evaluation, it's plus 1.1. And so they're probably going to play the top computer move, which is also knight a5. And then you play the move bishop to b5, and they're probably going to respond with c6. You take, they're going to take, and then instead of retreating, which is what most people do, you'd want to play queen f3. The computer isn't like a fan of this move because it says black has a slight advantage now. But simply, if they take carelessly, then you're gonna be winning all of a sudden, and you could take the rook, and you're up in exchange and a pawn. But over here, they're probably not gonna be dumb enough to take the bishop on b5. So then what do? Well, really, you have a lot of options. You could either retreat to the home square on f1. This move isn't particularly the best move because it blocks your king from castling, and also your bishop isn't doing much on this side of the board because it's blocked by the g2 pawn. But if you place your bishop carefully on e2, then it gets nice vision on this side of the board and this side of the board, which makes it a key piece to your position. And also, black's position isn't so active, and that's the black's whole idea of that pawn sacrifice. Because as you could see, playing playing d5 is a pawn sacrifice here, because they're not gonna be taking back. They're gonna play knight a5, and then you simply up a pawn. But they play the sacrifice to get some activity in the position. So, now they're not that active. This knight is horrible. It's not even doing anything. Both of its forward moves are horrible and ugly. So, if I was black, I'd probably play bishop to d7. The computer likes bishop to e7, but this is the common. It's just a natural move because you're defending the pawn. I don't care if the computer really says anything about bishop to e7 because you're literally giving up a pawn. Why would you do that? Like, hello? So you're already down a pawn. So ignore the computer. The computer is stupid. Anyways, so they play bishop d7, which is apparently an inaccuracy, but it's a pretty good move. So what you want to do here is return to e2, like I said previously, and they probably don't have much activity in the position, and overall this is a pretty cool position. But earlier in the video I said that there's another line they could play as black. So this is a pretty long line. It's going to take a little bit of memorization. But once you get good at this fried liver lines, you're going to be easily destroying people your level. So for example, if you go back to this position, excuse me, so they have a much more active move here, which is bishop to c5. It's a little scary actually, which it might not seem, because I said before that you could take this pawn and you're gonna win all this stuff. But that's not always true, because they could literally, in this position, sacrifice the bishop, lure your king in. It's a little crazy. And then they take this pawn here. You could hide, but that's not the best. And over here, they can bring their queen in, and you have to be careful. What? Am I missing something? Wait, why is queen f6 bad? Okay, so I guess they can just go for queen h4. It's essentially the same thing. I don't get what's wrong with queen f6, actually. That's strange. So anyways, they're threatening checkmate here. And so that means you can't take the knight right now. And this is a really scary position, so I would not recommend playing in the track, which is the name of the line. So as soon as they go for bishop to c5 here, then instead of taking with the knight, I would take with the bishop. Because if you take with the bishop here, now they can like move to king f8, for example, and you're doing fine in the position. You could just castle, do whatever you. Oh yeah, there's h6. Right? So you first have to bring like the bishop back, I guess. And then this is no longer a thing, because now you can take, and then now you can take, and then if they take here, then you can take with the knight. And the thing is that it's different because your king no longer goes to g1 and it stays at f1. And also the queen doesn't get the opportunity to park on the f6 square, giving the check because of the knight. So this variation is a lot different, and you're also up a pawn. Black can't castle, and this is a really pleasant position. So thank you for watching, and if you want to see more, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.